All right, perfect. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are based. My name is Brian, Product Marketing Manager here at ActivePipe. And with me, I have Aaron Linkoff, Director of Business Development. In today's session, we're going to go over the housing supply crisis, how brokerages are navigating them, and some best practices to keep in mind moving forward. Starting with how did we get here? It's important to know how we got to the listing shortage to fully understand what we can do about it. Second, what can we do about it? I don't want to be a negative Nancy and just leave you with only doom and gloom. So we're going to take a look at how some of our brokerages have navigated the housing supply crisis and some best practices. Next, we'll break it down by marketing tactics and technology suggestions. So starting off, how did we get here? As I mentioned, it's important that we understand the landscape of the situation before we start making recommendations for it. So contrary to popular belief, the housing supply crisis didn't actually start as a result of COVID. Rather, it was exacerbated by it. We've actually been experiencing a decrease in housing supply since around 2010. Since then, we've experienced a net new home construction that's been cut in half, which leads to a decreased supply. In terms of increased demand, we're starting to see that the millennials, the largest generation in the United States, which I'm a part of, are starting to reach the age where they're raising families and they're looking to purchase a home. This leads to a clear increase in demand for housing. A more recent reason for the increase in demand will be the low interest rates, directly attributable to the COVID-19 pandemic. So now more than ever, buying a home seems like a much more attractive option, whether as an investment property or just to get more space. These two factors largely contributed to the increase in demand for housing. So our research suggested that the number one reason why there's been a decrease in listings is because there's a surplus in buyer demand. To quote one of our survey respondents, sellers are hesitant to sell because they're afraid they won't find a replacement home. Aaron here is actually a great example of this, where he decided to rent instead of buy because he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to find the home that suited his needs. We've also actually seen that COVID-19 has led to a freeze in home tours. People are wary of the pandemic and have been hesitant to open up their homes and thus risking exposure to the virus. So to quote one of our survey respondents, 40% of sellers took their homes off the market in March 2020, and only 20% of those came back. People are just simply more scared to open up their homes, and as a result, they're waiting to show their homes around. So now what can we do about it? What are some ways that you and your brokerage can generate listings? So we've actually broken down some best practices in 5 different categories: staying in touch, using technology to identify prospective sellers, connecting with new housing developers, and targeting for sale by owner or FSBO listings. Let's dive into them. So first off, staying in touch. I don't think I need to stress the importance of relationship building in this industry, but staying in touch is probably the best way for you to stay top of mind with your prospects. COVID-19 has shown us that people still value and yearn for human interaction, so continue to have conversations with friends, family, your community about post-COVID real estate plans. Let them know that you'll be ready for business and open. Increasing and diversifying the touch points is equally as important as well. Reach out to your contacts by sending marketing emails, handwritten letters, phone calls, and text messages. Next, it's really difficult to be in real estate nowadays without at least touching technology. Technology can help you automate manual processes so you can focus on what really matters: building relationships and getting more listings. Tools like AI and machine learning can help you identify your hottest prospects so you can focus your time on converting them. Next, connecting with new housing developers. Top brokerages know about upcoming stock, so it's important to know what will be available and when. That way, when your prospects are ready to buy, you'll be ready to work with them. This subject matter expertise is equally important for the customers, as they're trusting you to be in the know when it comes to homes. Lastly, targeting for sale by owner or FSBO listings. So going FSBO may have many pros, but also comes with many cons. It's really important for agents when targeting FSBOs to convey the value of working with one. Some that come to mind are offering a much wider buyer network, navigating rules and regulations, handling paperwork, assisting with vetting contractors in case there needs to be work done, and much more. Many FSBO sellers tend to underestimate the amount of work that goes into selling a home, so position yourself as expert here. Next, let's take a look at some marketing tactics you and your brokerage can take advantage of. We've broken it down to 4 parts: direct mailers, cold calling with a question mark, building relationships with organizations, and hosting virtual events. Let's dive in. Direct mailers are incredibly important in this era. People have fundamentally shifted and are used to the online experience, and they tend to overvalue a personal touch when it comes to contact. Furthermore, direct mailers that position yourself as a subject matter expert are equally important. Consider sending mail to your prospects with info such as current trends in your market, or even just simply first-time home ownership tips. Send whatever is appropriate to the customer, of course, but make sure you're always staying top of mind of them. Automated action plans work great too. Is it your client's birthday? Great, send them a birthday card. Is Thanksgiving around the corner? Great, send them your family's turkey recipe. Adding a personal touch to contacts work incredibly well and can open doors to opportunity. Next, cold calling. I added a question mark to say that frankly, cold calling is dead. Warm leads are the future, and agents are shifting out of the spray and pray mentality and are instead researching their prospects. Tailored and targeted calls work significantly better than cold calls and convert at much higher rates. You can accomplish this by doing research ahead of time or simply relying on technology that helps you determine who to call and what to call about. Next, building relationships with organizations. Join local organizations such as HOAs and clubs, as they typically have really well-established relationships with local homeowners. These can offer opportunities for networking, exposure, and new listings. Spend time where your community is spending time, including country clubs, golf courses, and even online, such as Nextdoor or your city's subreddit. I know that on my city's subreddit, a lot of people exchange tips as well as what market trends look like, so definitely spend more time there. One of our survey respondents actually told us that they generated a listing by simply spending more time at their local golf course and were able to talk with other golfers. Last but not least, host and join virtual events. Virtual events can help you build a wider audience network that span beyond your standard sphere of influence. Consider hosting webinars like the one that we're in now, doing virtual tours on Instagram Live, and joining conferences. So as discussed, we're going to end by going over how much you can use technology to navigate the housing supply crisis. First, multi-channel technology. At its core, it's all about casting a wide net, leveraging multiple channels such as direct mail, e-newsletters, social media advertising, email, text messages, just to name a few. Traditionally, this would go in the realm of marketing, but we're really starting to see a shift in the perception of marketing to something more mathematical and calculable. It's now an iterative process. Keep on measuring the results of your efforts and keep on learning and implementing your learnings. Make sure your results are trackable and have actionable metrics. Even consider mixing the two, digitizing your traditional forms of marketing. For example, putting QR codes that lead to your website or maybe lead to a landing page on your direct mailers. Second, tailor your approach and your technology toolkit. Arm yourself with tools that are meant for the industry, since real estate is a unique industry with unique needs. Out-of-the-box solutions need to be configured to fit your needs, which usually costs time and money. Things such as integrating property feeds, generating real estate content can now be automatic. Technology also makes it super simple to scale beyond just one agent. Just make sure you stay on brand no matter who is making contact. Last but not least, AI and automation. So I know when people typically hear these words, they tend to get scared, but AI can actually be a good thing and can be used in your favor. It can automate processes that used to take hours. Consider using AI-powered tools that can predict your customers' behavior so you can focus on generating more business. AI is applicable to almost every facet of the industry. It can help determine who's ready to buy, sell, and more. AI can also tell you who to call, when to call them, and what property to call about. Use AI to enable personalization. It can help you group your contacts into personas and help you reach out to them at scale.
Yeah, I think some of the interesting things that we've seen and to think about is sometimes we can get into a mode where we can assume what the consumer is thinking, right? And so the average, most of the agents and brokerages know that there's a significant listing shortage in a lot of their areas. And as a result, pricing has skyrocketed in a lot of areas. But not the average consumer might not realize this. They might not realize that their home has gone up significantly in value than it was, a couple months ago. And so I think there can be this pattern that we all can fall into, where is to assume, well, if I know it, even subconsciously, if I know it, then the average consumer might know this too. So, a lot of what we're showing here, is really helpful in thinking about processes, thinking about different tools to use, but it's also thinking about, the messaging itself doesn't need to be too complicated, right? Can we educate our audiences to understand, hey, check out what's actually going on in your neighborhood right now. Not sure if you realized that your own home has actually gone up significantly. Do you want to chat about what it could look like to possibly list your home? These simple techniques we've actually seen as extremely effective in generating listing appointments in those who might have not realized that there was an opportunity there.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think education is key, especially in this industry. And since a lot of homeowners are relying on you to know that, it's really good to just keep yourself informed, as well as, again, position yourself as a subject matter expert there. We do have a question coming in. So, Aaron, I think this is directed to you. How do brokerages take advantage of this situation we are in?
Yeah, taking advantage, or how do we capitalize, I guess, on the situation that exists in the market right now? I think, like we said, like making sure this is an opportunity to educate. Essentially, when there is ever a significant change in the market, that is an opportunity to educate our audience, because most of our audience doesn't realize that. But as brokerages, it's also an opportunity to help set up processes, right? So can we set up processes in place to take this work maybe off the agent's plate altogether, right? Can we set up these marketing campaigns? Can we set up these education campaigns on behalf of our agents? So we're not expecting them to necessarily do all this themselves, but equipping them to be able to handle, the conversations as we're creating them. I think it's also an opportunity to test out and track these processes. So, again, with most agents trying to run their businesses, it's ideal if they can set up processes and track them, but they don't always have, time to be able to do that effectively. So brokerages have an opportunity here to set up processes and track how effective they are, and to then iterate on them and to pass these best practices back down to their agents. So I think those are some things to think about from a brokerage perspective. And of course, as a brokerage, we talked about technology and marketing. As a brokerage, look for scalable solutions. Look for things that, you can use the power of the brokerage to either scale pricing or scale admin support by bringing these products on and taking on some of that maybe administrative burden. Mm-hmm. So I think these are where some of those opportunities lie right now.
So before we end here, we had another question come in. What tools do you recommend to scale the brokerage?
Well, of course, I got to use this opportunity to talk about Actipipe. Actipipe being a marketing automation platform, not only making it simpler for an agent to be able to accomplish this stuff at scale, but I think in this industry, marketing in general, email marketing especially, can get a bad rep. There tends to be a lot of spamming in this industry because people are looking for a way to be able to send out one thing to a lot of people, right? And that tends not to be as personalized. So Actipipe presents the opportunity to be able to create a piece of content and actually have it be personalized to everybody you're sending it to at scale. But then enabling it from a brokerage perspective, we enable brokerages to be able to execute content at scale on behalf of all of their agents and still keep it personalized down to an individual level. At the same time, leveling up those personas. So, identifying, okay, who within a database right now might be looking to sell, might be looking to buy. Can we level those up and then enable the brokerage to be able to execute marketing on behalf of the agent to those contacts and keep it personalized to what each person is interested in? So gotta plug Actipipe there.
Yeah, great plug. Well, yeah, again, thank you so much for joining. I really hope that this was helpful. And if you want one last look at our contact information, there it is there. Always happy to speak. Well, thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoy the rest of Unstoppable 2021.